It's never been more clear that Eric DeCosta made the right decision. The Ravens looked like they had landed a superstar in Maxx Crosby in March, but after the trade fell apart, many thought Baltimore missed out on a game-changing player. But after pivoting towards Trey Hendrickson and keeping the future assets of the Baltimore Ravens, the Ravens actually made one of the smartest moves that they could have made this entire offseason. Now, Maxx Crosby has the skill set and the tool set to be a highly guaranteed piece that the Baltimore Ravens would have needed going into this upcoming season. But pivoting away from that and going towards Trey Hendrickson, the former edge rusher of the Cincinnati Bengals, did nothing but put Baltimore in a prominent perspective to be able to outcome going into this 2026-2027 season towards the quest for their third championship as an organization. But before we get into that and the Baltimore Ravens this upcoming season, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. 90% of you guys are unsubscribed. It is completely free. No does not like free things. I like free things. So let's just make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free, and we're providing Ravens videos and updates every single day. You guys are not going to want to miss out on the content that we are providing you guys at all. Now, specifically when it comes to Maxx Crosby is an elite player that plays for the Las Vegas Raiders following a trade that would have sent him to Baltimore and would have been massive for the Baltimore Ravens going into this upcoming season. Now, Maxx Crosby going into the 2026-2027 round, the trade package for Maxx Crosby was a massive one, with 2 first-rounders, one of them being the 14th pick of the draft, and another one being a 2027 first-rounder. This would have been the first time in franchise history that Baltimore has traded a first-round pick for a veteran piece. And they were prepared to not only trade one of these, but to trade 2 of these picks away. Now, this shows you how Baltimore was viewing Maxx Crosby, as Maxx Crosby is one of the biggest pieces in the entire NFL and one of the most elite pass rushers that the NFL has seen over the last decade or so. Going into 2026-2027 season, Maxx Crosby is already one of the most premier edge rushers, as he is a 5-time Pro Bowler, has over 68 career sacks during the offseason, and his elite snap counts and durability throughout his career helps him stay prominent and always be a focused goal towards pressuring the quarterback. Now, Baltimore specifically was looking for a player who is able to change how the offense operates in terms of being able to survive the pass rush. Maxx Crosby is a player who forces many double teams, can create chips with running backs and tight ends, and is always faster when it comes to rushing and playing the quarterback. The idea was pretty simple for the Baltimore Ravens. Give that Ravens elite offense that he has seen and allow a dominant pass rusher such as Maxx Crosby to be making the defense good enough to be able to win and go on a quest for a championship. Now, in terms of Maxx Crosby in the 2026-2027 year, why did the Baltimore Ravens need a player such as Maxx Crosby? This is due to the elite talent on defense, such as Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, and Justin Madubuike, as we know. But the missing piece for the Baltimore Ravens was having to create consistent pressure without sending extra rushers on a play-to-play basis. This was where Maxx Crosby would have fit in perfectly, because against elite quarterbacks, it becomes a major problem if you have to blitz over and over again. If you blitz every single play, there's fewer defenders in coverage, and quarterbacks like Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrows can punish defenses for giving you that much time in the pocket. Now, Maxx Crosby would have allowed to create pressure for Baltimore and keep players in coverage. This is why Baltimore was willing to make this sacrifice. But why did this trade fall apart to begin with? The biggest misconception for the Baltimore Ravens was the fact that Maxx Crosby was not good enough to be a Baltimore Raven. This is completely false. The only thing that had changed the perspective on Maxx Crosby was his medical evaluation going into this actual trade and trade circumstances. Now, Maxx Crosby specifically, the concern was not whether he could play in 2026. The concern was centered around a knee injury and the long-term outlook on the team going into the 2026 and letter end Steelers. The Baltimore Ravens weren't simply asking, can Maxx Crosby be an elite level player? The Baltimore Ravens were truly asking, is Maxx Crosby worth the price of 2 first-round picks if we are not 100% comfortable with what Maxx Crosby is dealing with from an ankle and a lower leg standpoint? Now, The 2 first-round picks going into this draft have a huge equation going into the 2026-2027 season because the trade becomes complicated when you bring in these pieces. Baltimore wasn't only signing Maxx Crosby, they were giving up 2 first-round picks that could be young talent later down the road in affordable contract situations, and also a future starter as the 2026 draft had a bunch of loaded pieces, and the next year with the Jeremiah Smiths and the Arch Mannings that are coming out, the draft looks consistently growing every year, and trading away multiple first-round picks is something that the Ravens have barely done, but it had to be looked as sacrificing a piece of the Baltimore Ravens' future going into this upcoming season with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the biggest piece that we pivoted from with Maxx Crosby leaving was the addition of Trey Hendrickson. And Trey Hendrickson is a very elite player and is coming off one of the best stretches in his entire career. He led the NFL with 17.5 sacks in 2024, earned a first-team All-Pro also in 2024, and recorded 81 sacks in his career leading up to this point in the 2026 offseason. Now, Maxx Crosby was costing the Baltimore Ravens 2 first-rounders, but Trey Hendrickson cost money and absolutely no draft compensation at all. Baltimore still solved the biggest problem on the roster going into the 2027 season, instead of going into the 2026 season without the capital of an elite pass rusher and an elite defensive piece as a whole. Now, shifting towards Maxx Crosby specifically and going towards the path of what Maxx Crosby was looking for going into the 2026-2027 season, Baltimore wasn't necessarily choosing behind 2 players of picking between Crosby and Hendrickson to be elite. The original vision was supposed to add Maxx Crosby as a piece while still looking to pursue Trey Hendrickson in another role. Just imagine that defensive front that could have been in Baltimore with Maxx Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, and Madubuike, and it would have been one of the most dangerous and scary groups that the NFL has seen. Eric DeCosta later mentioned through the line that Baltimore had been looking to create another piece and acknowledged that the Crosby trade was pretty disappointing due to Baltimore truly wanting him to be added to their roster due to the high skill set that Trey Hendrickson encapsulate in his game. What does this say about Eric DeCosta as a whole? This shows the difference between great front offices and really bad front offices. The easiest move was ignoring the concerns, making the trade, and making everybody happy. But trusting your evaluation, walking away from a potential superstar, and finding another solution was the key for the organization to stay competitive every year, and is something of why the Baltimore Ravens are consistently fighting and fighting and fighting for that playoff chance and that hope as a whole. Now, Trey Hendrickson and Maxx Crosby are 2 both elite level players, and I believe that Maxx Crosby would have been a very beneficiary piece towards the Baltimore Ravens. Now, does this mean that the Baltimore Ravens season is over due to the perspective and the narrative of what occurred during the Maxx Crosby trade? I don't believe that this is the case. I believe that even though Maxx Crosby would have been an elite addition to the Baltimore Ravens pass rush, Trey Hendrickson is something that the Baltimore Ravens can be excited and looking forward to due to what he does and brings on a defensive front. Now, both of them in this pass rush scenario would have made the Baltimore Ravens one of the most elite defenses, and I believe if both of those players would have been on the team at the same time, it would have single-handedly made the Baltimore Ravens a number 1 to number 2 Super Bowl contender. But I still believe that Trey Hendrickson can have a very elite year going into this upcoming season and be a very beneficiary piece, not only in the pass rush, but to be able to accumulate a high number of sacks, similar to what he did in Cincinnati as a whole. Do you believe that Trey Hendrickson is a more beneficiary piece than Maxx Crosby? Do you believe that the Baltimore Ravens should have pulled through with Maxx Crosby, even though the medical concerns had been there? He could have still waited a little bit in a case of being on an IR or something of that nature to be able to eventually be a piece that the Baltimore Ravens heavily rely on and build efficient defenses surrounding those 2 key players. Thanks for watching Ravens Digest this video. You guys are going to want to make sure, as we talked about, to subscribe to Ravens Digest. Raven videos every single day we are providing you guys, and we are happy to do that every single day for you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, as we talked about, and we'll see you on the next video of Ravens Digest.